Oh, and I forgot my glass. Oh, no, I didn't. I knew I would. That's why they're here. Covered myself. Well, good morning. Can you believe that less than 24 hours ago, we got the phone call from the school saying, we made a mistake. We double booked the school you're booked at. And so I just have to praise this team. Like, they pivoted like you would not believe. And the friends that showed up and made all the phone calls, down the list, sent the texts, made the calls, did the posts to make sure everyone finds us here. And I know there's still more out there coming in, but that's okay. We are here, and it's good. So, good morning. So, God is amazing. I tell you what. You know, after much anticipation of this day, it's finally arrived. And so, of course, we can't start anything without special announcements. We need to know where the bathrooms are and everything else, right? So, and I sway when I talk. So if you guys meet me doing this, I'm gonna go like this. Julie, get if you can't hear me. So anyway, there's a blue raffle ticket in your bag. You want to look in there and make sure that you've got that, because we're going to have some drawings today. So make sure you know where your blue ticket is. Also, we are giving away Jeremy Camp tickets for this evening in Madison, and that's going to be a huge concert. We almost didn't get the tickets. It was selling out so fast. So one of your names, if you put your name in a separate drawing, we didn't want to pull drawings and say, oh, I can't go, so we have a separate one for people that said, yeah, I can go tonight. And you have time to do that at lunch. If you didn't get your name in that special drawing, it's going to be out there. Ask anyone that's wearing a volunteer lanyard today, and they'll be able to tell you where that is, because at the very moment, I don't know. But we've got a team. Oh, is that it right there? I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, make sure your name gets in that drawing for that concert ticket drawing that we'll do this afternoon. Outside the door, there's a bowl for questions for the speaker panel. Last thing today is going to be a brief speaker panel where you can ask any of the speakers whatever question you want. And there's a basket out there for those questions. The schedule for today is found on page 2 of the booklet. There's notes pages for each of the speakers, but there's also a beautiful purple notebook in there with the elastic binder and the ribbon to save your page. I love those things. So there is that in there. So if you're a, rabid note taker like I am, you might want to pull that out. Resources. You noticed out in the area we have many, many resources, and these were very carefully chosen booths and exhibitors that we have here today because they serve the women of Dane County and greater Wisconsin area for many of the different needs that women have. And so please be sure to stop by each of the booths and learn about them. You may not need one of their services today, but you might meet someone who does, or perhaps you might find a cause that you really love to be part of. They are all run on volunteers, and so maybe you'll find an organization you're like, I really, really connect with this, and I would like to be part of this. So check all of those out. Those are in the back of your pamphlet for today, the booklet. Pages 16 through 20 are all of those resources, their websites, contact information, and a little bit about them. We want to put a special thank you out there to our platinum and silver sponsors, Culver's and Bank of Sun Prairie. We are a 501c3 organization, and so that does new things for us. We can have a donate button. It's our goal to eventually have these types of venues that are virtually no cost or very little cost. And so we're going to be building that up. And so if you have a desire, someone to donate to an organization, we are going to honor every cent that comes in and do things for His glory. All right, save the date, 2025. We already have the date set, November 1st. It's always going to be the first Saturday in November. That was the easiest thing. They're like, you know what, this one, both of the schools, well, they were supposed to both be free, but the auditorium's free. So the first Saturday in November next year, which is November 1st. Bathrooms, important question. Out the doors and to your left, all the way down, it's a 2-sided bathroom, so there's many, many bathrooms down there, so we should be good. And if during our session, if you need to step out and go to the restroom, please do. Don't worry, we're fine, we'll be here when you get back. Go ahead and do what you need to do. You're just fine, do it, man. Okay, today, you are gonna hear about real life stuff, challenges and mishaps, hurts and hurdles, fears and anxiety, and some of the most incredible, joyous stories you could ever hear. But most importantly today, it's about you. And the joy story yet to be told, yours. A joy that no one can take away from you, no matter what your circumstances. Did you know joy is mentioned over 200 times in the Bible? The kind of joy we're talking about is available to all of us. You're going to hear a lot today about Jesus, because anyone who trusts in him will never be put to shame. When we invite Jesus into our hearts, it's in getting to know him that wellspring of joy just comes out of us. It just bubbles up. It puts that lift in our step. It affects our thoughts, our words, our relationships, our whole world. Jesus tells us to abide in him as he abides in his Father. In fact, his friend John wrote this down, the disciple John, but it was his friend when he was here. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. He wants our joy to be full, and we are his joy. He created us in his image. We are precious in his sight. We are precious to him. So what does courageous joy even mean? Do you want to flip the slide, whoever's doing that? I don't have a clicker, I don't think, up here. So the next slide would be great. Sometimes joy doesn't look like what we think it does. And why do we need courage? The world would tell us joy looks like happiness or joy because we have financial success, or we have a successful family, or it looks like maybe we have these big possessions, or laughing and dancing and all these things. But joy doesn't always look like that. The joy we're talking about is a more profound, deeper joy beyond all understanding, and yes, defies circumstances. It's a joy that lies beneath the surface of our everyday lives, one that's longing to seep into our hearts, our minds, our soul. And it's not just a feeling, and it's not just for a privileged few. We'll learn today that it's available to all of us, each and every one of us. So why do we need courage? Often joy is found at the crossroads of faith and courage. If we think about it, sometimes joy doesn't look like any of those things. And courage, what does courage look like? Sometimes courage looks like patience. Think about the times that you've had to wait in your life. Just sit and wait. I think about the time that my husband and I were in Milwaukee with our son and his wife and their 5-month-old baby with open heart surgery. We had to sit and wait and trust. And it was in the waiting and the trusting. Dr. Mickey Collins wrote, "The real test of patience is not in waiting, but in how one acts while he or she is waiting." Sometimes courage looks like surrender. We have that picture of courage being strong, bold, doing all these things. But sometimes it is just as simple as surrender. Not just ceasing to resist something, but surrendering to the role that God gave us in our lives. Think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. She surrendered to God's will to be Jesus' mother, and whatever he had laid out and planned for her life, she submitted to that and accepted that. We think of the example of Esther, having the courage to approach the king, which she could have been put to death for. She approached the king, and with unwavering faith, she pleaded for her people and for her life, and he didn't just spare her life, but he spared all her people's lives. Sometimes courage looks like obedience. A lot of times we know what we're supposed to do, but we don't want to do it. Or we're just like, oh, we don't want to do that, but obediently we will do it. We think of the story of Joshua. Joshua was told by God that he had to bring the Israelites across to the promised land after the death of Moses. So after Moses died, and I just have to shout out a little thank you to a special friend, Karen, in the room, who taught me this story, and it's become one of my main things. So Karen, bless you, thank you for this. So this story of Joshua, he was to bring the people through to the promised land. And there was a raging river. And recently, we've seen how terrifying raging waters can be, right? We look at North Carolina videos and what's all shared in those raging waters. When Joshua was told to cross the Jordan River to bring the Israelites across, it was flood stage and the waters were raging. And God told Joshua 3 times, do not be afraid, be strong and courageous. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And so he told them, that the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant had to step into those raging waters, and God would perform a miracle. He would push the waters as far back as we could see and far down, and all the people would be able to cross over on dry land. But the waters were still raging. It was still scary. It was very scary, a flood stage, right? And the priests obediently stepped their foot in the water, but not until they actually stepped in the water did the waters miraculously start to recede. And all the Israelites were able to cross over. And they stood in the middle of the riverbed, holding the Ark of the Covenant until the very last one had crossed over. And after they did, the waters resumed again. You know, out of courage, whether it's patience, surrender, obedience, all the things that courage requires, we embrace faith. And that faith turns to belief. And belief turns to trust. And trust ushers in peace. And peace brings joy. So what does this incredible joy look like, what we're talking about? Sometimes joy, it doesn't look like the dancing and the happy and all the fun things. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness, either received or given. It can take a lot of courage to ask for forgiveness or to extend forgiveness to someone who's hurt us. And they might not even remember ever hurting us or what they might have said or done that hurt us. And they're off living their life. And here we are, gripped with pain, or having inner anger come out, agonizing over the offender. And what are we doing? It's doing nothing to that person. We're doing it to ourselves with this clenched heart. So when we turn to God, we can forgive and we can extend forgiveness. And then we can let God take over those feelings of hurt and turn them into something refreshing, something healing, a relief. Sometimes joy looks like faith, not by sight. In 2 Corinthians, we're told, so we are always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, while we are here at home in the body, we are away from the Lord, for we walk by faith, not by sight. I have to tell you, I volunteered for my kids when they were in, I think it was grade school, middle school, Wolfridge. But there was a high ropes course. They had all these outdoor courses and classes. It was really cool. And there was 30-foot high ropes course. And I'll never forget watching one of the boys in one of the classes crossing over this. And it was a single rope with two single ropes to hold on to as you put one foot in front of the other on this rope and just coaching this kid across. Like, we were all carabinered, is that how you say, carabiner clipped in, so if they fell, they wouldn't get hurt. But just the shaking while he was just going and putting one foot in front of the other. Well, that night, we got the bright idea for us parents and some of the teachers to go do it ourselves. Except the problem was, this was out in the country and there weren't many lights. There was a light on like the main lodge building or whatever it was. And as it shone over to the high ropes course, we could only see like up here. We couldn't see the ropes. And we couldn't even see the platform we were on. And we were like, okay. And we didn't have cell phones with lights right then. And so when we were up there, we had to get up there and trust that that plank was there and the rope was there. We knew the rope was there. We had seen it during the day. We knew it was there. Just like our faith, we know it's there. But we don't really know it until we feel and actually step out and put our weight on it and let it support us. And then we know it's there, right? And then we have to take one more step and then muster up enough courage to take the next step and put it in front of the other one. Feel the weight of that and trust it and allow it to suspend us. Just like faith, that's what it's like. We know it's there. We can't always see it, but we have to step out on it in courage. When we are trusting Him, we are trusting Him to light the next step and the next step and the next.